Well, welcome to Artist Alchemy. I'm John Cruz. I'm a portrait photographer based in the city of brotherly love here in the US.
Hi, and I'm Steph. I'm a fantasy photographer based in Lincoln in the UK.
And today our guest is Kingston and Greystarr, the musical duo. Their EP, Back to the Glitterverse, came out just not too long ago. I had to listen to it when it came out. And we're excited to get into like your musical inspirations and start to talk about like some of your creativity, because I've seen recently some of the music videos you guys have been dropping and things like that. So we're excited to chat today.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Hi. Thanks for being on.
Yeah.
So, John, do you want to jump in or can I jump straight in?
Do you have something to add, or do you?
I do. So, as soon as I saw your guys' visuals, I was like, oh my God, they're magical. So, I feel like, is that like reflective of the kind of sound? For those who are listening on Spotify, if you describe the kind of sound you produce and then the visuals that go with it, and we'll go from there.
That's a really good question.
We tried to unite the two.
Yeah, there's a lot of musical references that we always pull from a fantastical, science fictional or pop culture arena. So when we're thinking with music, we often are like, well, we need more Blade Runner here, or
we need more Willy Wonka.
Yeah, that's right.
We're always like referring to like what we want it to sound like, but it's a visual reference.
Yeah, so our music's kind of got a lot of lacing of that in it. So even the very, well, none of it's basic, but even the like, just this is a straight up indie alternative rock song, there's always like this little edge of something else happening that's always pervading, and then other stuff is just full on glitterversey.
Mm-hmm.
So bring back, because the EP prior was what was it? It was something glitter, and then this one is Back to the Glitterverse. So that's a prevailing theme in your style. Where did that come from? Was that just something where when you were working together, you were just like, this is a word that just kind of brings it all together?
Excuse me, whilst Greystarr drinks out her unicorn.
That wasn't like a stage drink.
Wait, we're talking about tangible things? I have one here. Like,
she's literally pouring her coffee and pressing it down as you were talking. She's like,
Hi. Well,
you've now just fully, I feel like that may have answered your question. When we first started working together, like it's really funny, even though we come from like very different places in the world and musically, there's this really wonderful overlap, and the overlap is filled with glitter and unicorns and Gem and the holograms and She-Ra and all of that stuff. That's
I think whimsical. Also it's like a metaphor just for magical.
Yeah,
we don't want to feel like a garage band. We want to feel like magical. We want our show to feel magical.
Yeah.
So
I noticed that like when you talk about like garage band, like I guess you guys did a recent video shoot. It looks like in a warehouse, but you made it look like it was kind of like you were on a spaceship. Like the whole vibe of it has to do with like, okay, we have the bones of this thing, but now we're going to add our spice to it. And our spice is going to look like this. And it doesn't look this worldly. It looks otherworldly.
Often we're on the mothership or
exactly. That's the Glitterverse.
Okay.
And our fans, our glitterheads, they get that we're like in this like orbit, this other place together. It's kind of like the place where we all live.
Yeah. And it's really fun to get like our metalhead mates that are in like Sweden. He's like, our mates, they're like full on metalheads, and they're like, oh yeah, that's really unicorny. Oh, glitter emoji. And we're like, yes. Makes us so happy.
It's so funny.
Like living your best 5-year-old selves as adults with the glitter.
Always.
Exactly.
Always.
But how did it first come about? Like, where did you guys meet? Because you said you're from very different backgrounds, very different tastes and styles. So, like, how did this come to be?
Right. Well, we met 7 years ago.
Yeah, roughly.
There's this legendary guitar player named Punky Meadows. He's from the band Angel. They were on the same label as Kiss. So Kiss had like all the black outfits, and then Angel was like all white and ethereal and like
nice.
glammy. And Punky Meadows was the guitarist of the band Angel. So he retired from music, and then like 30 years later, he comes back and puts an album out. And he's like in his 70s now.
Oh, wow.
And our friend Chandler was the lead singer on that album that was recorded. So when it was time to do live shows, they cast 2 backup singers for the tour. Amy Kingston was cast as one of them, and this other singer, Jessie Wagner, our really good friend, she's amazing, was cast as the other one. I didn't even know this project was happening.
We didn't know each other.
We didn't know each other yet. So then they start rehearsing and start doing the thing. And then Jessie gets called to go do a tour with Lenny Kravitz. Mm-hmm. So she has to bounce. So that left the spot open. And the bass player of the band that Punky started is Keith Roth. Well, was Keith Roth at the time. And he's the owner of the record label we're on. And he's just a very good friend of ours. So both him and Chandler, the singer, who I knew for many years, said, what about Barbara as the other singer? So they called me. I'm like, yeah, it sounds cool. The problem was I had like 5 days to learn all the songs.
More like 3 days.
Wow.
Because
like
Jessie left and they were ready to go. So I was like, okay, hi, don't know any of the songs, never heard of them before. There's a whole show to learn. I have not met the other singer yet. So being the glorious person and helpful musician that she is, Amy voice recorded all of the harmony parts that I needed to learn for every single song, like alone in her room at night, like, okay, you're gonna go just the line from the top. Okay, take it from the top. Okay, then you're gonna go, like, just tons and tons of notes on her phone that she sent to me, and I studied that for days. So when I showed up for rehearsal, it was the first time we had met in person, but I had her voice in my head. Days learning the song,
and now you can't get her voice out of your head.
And I was just like, thank you so much, like, you're saving my ass. And she was like, nice to meet you. And then from there we just like became a duo on the road. And I think the fans just really took a liking to us, like, as the only females in the band, and we brought the glitter and the sparkle to the guys, you know. But Punky is very glam as well, so we kind of really blended in with him. Yeah. And the fans just kind of took a liking to us as a duo, and we kind of became our own thing. And then Bob Pantella from Monster Magnet was the drummer of that tour, and he named us drunk one night in Vegas, Kingston and Greystarr. So that's how we became.
Wow. And that's such a cool name as well.
Yeah, from there we kind of went out on our own, but we also sing backup for several other bands as well still. Also
amazing.
So many things going on.
Yeah, but we have to say how you specifically got your name. So like, picture it, right? We're in Old Vegas in this room that is literally wall to ceiling zebra wallpaper. It's fantastic. If you go on our website, on our bio page, you can see the zebra wallpaper room in the background. It's the best room I've ever been in. Best. So we're sitting there and Bob's like, you girls need stage names. You can't just be Amy and Barbara. What the hell is that? You need stage names. And then he's like,
very tipsy.
Very tipsy.
All of us having like the time of our lives.
He should have had like a cigar in his mouth.
You girls need stage names.
He's not like that at all, by the way.
No,
he's glorious.
That's how I imagined him, though, how you're saying.
Yeah,
he's great.
He's like not like that at all.
But he's like, you girls need stage. And then he looks at Barbara and he's like, you always wear gray. And when you perform, you always have a star on your cheek. I shall name you Greystarr. That's literally how our name came together.
That sounds very official.
Yeah, it was very official. I was like, okay. And then Amy's middle name is Kingston.
And that's an ode to my family. So that's my mum's surname was Kingston. So
okay.
It works.
That's how we became Kingston and Greystarr.
Yeah.
I feel like there should have been a ceremony. Or was that a ceremony?
I think it was a ceremony.
That was the ceremony.
It was
The
very formal.
made it official. Yeah.
It
Also,
was
the way you did his voice sounds like the sorting hat from Harry Potter. I was like, You don't know.
If glorious rock drummers with long curly hair were a sorting hat, they would be Bob Pantella.
Yes.
Just
You know, I cannot wait for how you guys cast a biopic on this story. Like when you do the documentary.
I think if we when we do our cartoon idea,
Yes.
there is going to be a moment and it's going to be Bob, but he is going to be a sorting hat, and all you will see is his long curly hair underneath the sorting hat. And we'd be like, where's that?
That's so funny.
Don't even give him a body. He's just a floating hat with hair.
Just a
And he
floating
just
head.
like,
Yeah.
and it's just this booming voice that comes down from the heavens to bestow.
Yeah.
And it does, the names do give a very She-Ra vibe. So like in the cartoon,
Yeah.
in our cartoon, we're like riding unicorns through the universe to get to our next mission.
Always.
So from what you said, it sounds almost like rather than being inspired by a specific genre of music, you're kind of inspired by like 80s culture. Would you say that's accurate? Rather than a specific genre?
That's definitely
mostly it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good slice of it. Like 80s bleeding into 90s culture. And we're musicians. We live and breathe music. We're just very visual with our interpretations of music.
Right.
Well, it's funny because when you think about like in the era of like that we grew up in, like MTV was the mainstay. Music was visual, like for kids of a certain genre of the 80s and into the 90s. Like there was that was the only like era where music and video merged in its seminal way. And then it kind of went away and it wasn't there before. It was like that was like the one era where it was like, oh, this is a visual medium.
And it was so creative. Like they were really trying new things. And like, hell, if they want like a flying hawk with a fairy riding something in their music video, they're gonna put it in. Or like,
and it didn't have to mean anything. It was just
that's
like,
the point.
like I think about like like do you guys remember the band?
Look at this cool thing I made, and then they just put it in the video.
Do you guys remember the band Faith No More?
Yeah.
And the song Epic, and he's playing the piano at the end in the rain, and there was a goldfish just flopping on the stage. You're just like, what is that? Like it didn't relate to the song at all, but it was like that was the final image. You're just like, okay.
Totally. Yeah.
That's like one of my mad photos.
It does.
Right.
Your brain works like our brain works like your photos 100%.
I feel like it does. Like I feel like there's a connection there. Like sometimes when I'm speaking to people, they're like, how did you why is he holding that in the air? I'm like, I don't know. I just listen to my brain and this is what's come up with. So I feel like it's similar.
Like, this is where you get access to the inside of my brain if you want. But you know, most and if it scares you, just imagine being with it all the time.
Yeah. So going back to your story, guys. So you've met, you've gone on the Back and Singer tour, and then you've been named by the Sorting Hat, and then where does it go from there? Like, what did you do? Like, okay, we're gonna get together. We're gonna go solo. How do we promote this? How do we start? Do we write our own songs? Do we do covers? Like, where did it go?
We decided to record some covers first to just get our name out there, and that was our first EP, and that's why it's called Covered in Glitter, because it's all covered.
Very
What's
good.
interesting about that is initially we were going to do a full album, so we covered. We did one single first. We did "Don't Change" by NXS to just feel it out a little bit.
Right.
And we're like, this is great, let's do some more. And the first concept was we were going to do a full album, and it was going to be like where we came from and where we're going to. So half of it would be covers and half of it would be original.
Okay.
We had finished recording all the covers, and then COVID happened.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
because
I
we
don't remember
released
that far back.
we released our EP during COVID. And then we're like, sugar.
That's right.
Sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here. And
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
Absolutely can.
So hard.
Sugar.
I am the
Yes.
F queen. So we're like, shit, we can't get together with our peeps, but we have all of these songs and they're done.
So we decided just to put an EP out.
So we
of
decided to
covers.
put an EP
That's
out,
right.
which was covered in glitter.
So I didn't listen to that EP, I listened to the current one, and you had a couple covers on that, and
Yeah.
what makes you, it's funny, I saw a TikTok a couple weeks ago where, and I made a comment on about, they listed a bunch of like singers doing Hearts alone, but it all sounds like versions of Ann Wilson. I'm like, if you're gonna do a cover, do it differently, like make it your own. And for everyone, like the songs don't seem to have any. I would love to go into your song selection because they don't inherently have anything related to each other, but you guys do it so differently that it fits all together. So I'm curious, how do you choose your songs, because they sound like they're from different, if I remember correctly, they're from different genres, but you've put it through your filter and they sound like fundamentally unique and brand new. And so what is that process that you go through?
First of all, thank you for saying that,
Thank
because
you.
we work very hard to make sure that that is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Thank
That means a
you.
lot to us.
Yeah, it does.
We're always like making sure that they live together in the same glitterverse.
Yeah. They can coexist.
So how did we choose the songs? Song 2 happened in a jam session once
Yeah.
at a rehearsal.
Yeah.
And we were like, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
We have to record that.
Yeah. It was definitely, we're like,
That was an
that's-
accident.
That was a total accident.
Nice.
What other songs are
Nothing.
Oh yeah. Nothing. The Depeche Mode cover was an idea that my fiance had. Christopher the Minister is my fiance. He's worked with Daniel Ash for decades. Daniel Ash from Bauhaus, Tones on Tail, Love and Rockets. A long time ago, they had wanted to do a cover of that song and they had everything kind of almost ready to go, but then it just dropped off and they never finished it. So we picked it up and finished it, and Daniel actually sings backup vocals on it. So that's kind of like a cool collab for us.
Yeah.
But again, we had to make sure it lived with the other songs.
Yeah.
It kind of veers off a little into gothy land, but I think the industrialness of it brings it back in.
Yeah, and it's very Portisheady.
It's very Portishead.
It's fine by
the
us.
way we performed it is much different than the original, but the music itself is very much like the original. So Depeche Mode fans love it, Daniel Ash fans love it, and our fans love it. So it's kind of dipping into the 3 different fan bases in one song.
But what was really also fun about that is because that was one of the first songs we were doing, and it really inspired us to embrace our love of electronic music and lacing electronics with organic sound. So then a lot of the other songs on the EP, we were like, well, let's see what happens if we have organic drums, but then overlay, kind of like what Garbage does this a bunch, like then overlay electronic rhythmic components to create this kind of thing that lives in both universes. That was like a good start.
Right. And remember, we had come off the Punky Meadows tour, which is pure rock and roll. Like it's not industrial, it's not new wave, it's not synthetic in any way. So so doing these new songs was like different for us.
Yeah.
But we love it. It was just like, I hope the fans come along on this little switcheroo we're about to do here.
Yeah.
But we handled it really well, I think.
Because we both have a love of that's where we meet. We meet in new wave.
We meet in new waves.
So that was really fun to kind of explore.
The new EP is more us than like the tours we were on.
Yeah.
Like those we were like playing a part and being like rock and roll girls. And we are rock and roll girls, but the new EP sound is more our personal taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's very cool. And so if we talk about like lyrics and stuff, do you tend to concentrate on a specific subject? Is it political? Is it just like about having good times? Like how do you come up with lyrics? What's like the process for that?
It's a good question as well. We definitely are fans of we're and this sounds like super cliche, but
I can't wait to see what you're gonna say.
we're very girl powery. We really like female empowerment is important to us. So for example, when we were doing Love Bomb, which is a back off mate,
It's a no thank
song. Yeah. It's
No, thanks.
No, that's all right. It's really interesting when we first started writing it with our wonderful drummer, who's also the producer for most of the record, Rob Leono. He created this really great concept, loved it, super energy, but the concept was hit me with your love bomb. Yeah, hit me with your love bomb. And we were like, okay, that's cool. And then we started brainstorming and we're like, yeah, but that's not really us though.
Like we'd never
that.
beg anyone to love us.
We would be like,
Right.
yeah,
That's
that's
right.
okay.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah. So we're like, so what if we like turn it around
We
on
flipped it
on
and
its
we
head
were
and-
like, don't hit me with your love
Don't.
bomb.
And then suddenly like the lyrics just
Then
start
we're like
coming out.
done.
So I think it's not necessarily keeping everything in one subject matter. It's keeping true to how we are as people and what we feel is important. And then you can tell stories wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And you know, some of the songs on the EP are really quirky and they're just literally like tales from a life and living life, and or like a song about a moment in time, for example, like Moby is. We just want to make sure we stay true to how we feel, or what that piece of music makes us feel.
That's really cool. And do you find that you mentioned about the fans had kind of followed you over?
Yeah.
Do you find that you're getting a lot of well, I suppose you are getting a lot of positivity about this new kind of sound, that you've come away a little bit from what you were doing on tour into this kind of new stamp on your music? Like, what's the kind of feedback you're getting there?
Thank goodness, yes.
So far, so good.
Yeah, because we kept it heavy enough, rocking enough for it to, you know, you listen to it and your body wants to move, and people are digging
It's
that.
still like rocking. It's just a different twist.
Yeah.
But there are moments where we feel like if we get asked to open for someone, we have to really think like, do we fit with that now? Like,
No, I
for Dawkins. I don't think we should open for Dawkins. I think we should open for Flock of Seagulls, which we have.
Yeah.
But like, we know we have to be very careful like where we fit now.
I don't know if you guys remember, it was like way back when. There's a story of like the Beastie Boys somehow were the openers for Madonna, and it was a train wreck because it was like, that's not their crowd. Like, no, like,
oh my God, that's the best.
They weren't known yet, and they were just up there doing their pseudo. They were still that like punk rock, virgin into rap thing, and it was a Madonna crowd. And Rick Rubin was like, I don't know what we were thinking, but he said we just went with it.
Yeah, that's not a good match at all.
Yeah, we're definitely in that journey at the moment. We talk about it a lot. We're figuring that out.
Yeah,
a lot at the moment.
We just opened for a Depeche Mode tribute called Strange Love, and that was a perfect fit.
It was perfect.
The fans are, the same. They like both of our styles. So it's very similar.
Yeah.
When we opened for Tiffany, that was good.
Yeah.
Flock of Seagulls, perfect. But then, who did we open for? And we were like, that was weird. Oh, when we opened for Angel.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is funny. We were on tour with Punky from Angel, but then they decided to put Angel back together, the original band Angel. So we get kicked out because there's no backup singers in Angel. Okay, bye. Thanks for everything.
Kindly.
Yeah.
We got roasted. No, we didn't.
Punky still wishes we were there, FYI, but we're not.
We love him.
So then this opportunity came where they were playing this venue we would play a lot, and they asked us to open for them. We were like, yes, great idea, bring everybody back together. But we had like been going on our journey like in the new wavy industrial direction.
So you're like,
So we kind of get to the day we're like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Is this the worst idea we've ever had?
Yeah.
And then the fans were like, huh. Like they remember us from when we were in Punky's band, but I don't know if they loved.
We switched like,
I don't know if it was
thank
like a
goodness
good-
we switched like 2 songs out. I'm so glad we did
last
that.
minute. We were
Last
like, we
minute.
got to put more rockers in this set, or we're gonna get like.
Keith said
We're gonna
that
get
as
the
well.
hook.
He's like, we need to switch some stuff
Yeah.
out. We're like, yeah, that's right.
So we are learning like those kinds of things along the way.
Yeah, that was funny.
Awkward.
But if a group came up that was like a massive group who was like your favorite group, and you were like, and they were like, so we want you to come on tour, but the sound was completely opposite, would you be like, do you know what, we might go because they're like our favorite band, or would you be like, do you know what, we can't because we're so different?
We'd probably say no.
I think we'd say no.
Because the mortifying
Wow.
feeling of being on stage when no one likes what you're doing is worse
Yeah.
than anything.
And we
Yeah, I
wouldn't,
suppose,
like,
yeah.
there's an art to being a supporting band.
Yeah.
Like your job is to warm the crowd up.
And prepare them
Yeah.
for the next
Yeah.
thing.
You
Yeah.
have to pull their energy from like 0 energy. Oh my God, I've just been at work all week.
I can't believe my friend dragged me here. I'm so hungry.
To like all the way to like raging, and then we hand them over. So like we wouldn't be doing
right, it would be a
their
disservice at that point.
Right.
for
Yeah.
ourselves, because then they'd be like, oh God, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. And actually, think about it like that. It makes you think, actually, if you're a supporting band, you've actually got kind of a harder job, right? Because people
Yeah.
might not know who you are, but it's your job to get them like revved up. Yeah, yeah. So I get
Yeah.
that actually. Now you've said that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of winning people over. Like it's a courtship every time when you're opening for someone. You're like, unless obviously there's often times where our people are always in the audience. You know, we'll bring our crowd, but for the people that've never seen us before, it's like a
Right.
presenting Kingston and Greystarr again.
Wait.
Here we are again.
Yeah,
Your crowd. Have you got groupies?
We do have some
have
groupies.
peeps. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have some peeps.
That's quite a stay. That's quite cool. That's quite
Yeah.
cool.
We do
Okay.
have some groupies.
We have some glitter heads. Yeah,
That's very cool.
yeah.
So going back to your journey, because I'm always interested to hear how people have gone from when they first started to where they are now. So you've got together, you've written some cracking music, you're like, yes, what's the next step? Do you use the contacts you've got? Do you go, are you cold calling people? Are you just putting stuff out on social and hope to be picked up? Like, how do you get to then go and perform? Now you guys have performed already, so you will have contacts. I'm sure you've leaned on them, but what's the next stage? How do you guys go about it?
We're like so deep in that right now. That's our our life.
We have a we have a weird relationship with social media, as a lot of artists do.
Yeah, I'm the same.
It's the only way we can keep in touch with our fans all the time, but at the same time we spend so much time on it that we're like, shouldn't we be spending time like on our show production instead of making this like outfit change video? You know what I mean? It just feels so dumb sometimes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into that a little bit, because like there's the craft of the music, which is an audio experience. But you guys are and I don't know your background, but I know yours is fashion. So the visuals is a big deal. And so like when you're doing the stage show versus filming a video, like how are you orchestrating like that? Like how are you thinking about, okay, this is how I want to visualize it as we're writing the music. This is how I want to visualize it when we're on stage, when I have limited you have boundaries there that you're dealing with. And then you have the video, which is you can piece that together however you like. So how do you parse that out and start to think through creatively the different experiences depending on how somebody consumes the music?
It's cool. The good thing is our backgrounds work well together. I have a theater background, so like between the two of us, we
fashion meets theater. Bam.
We think really similarly.
There you go.
We think in timelines, we think in storyboards, we think we're very organized people.
Right.
Which helps kind of ground our artistic this
And
thing.
also, like, for instance, when we were recording Stop Stalking Me Moby, we would have ideas for the video while we're working on the song and just like, oh, write that down. We got to, oh, it would be cool in the video if we took this part and went da da da. So it's kind of like intertwined.
Yeah.
For live shows, we can't do 90% of the things we wish we could do.
Right.
We just don't have the budget for it. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
heads, it's really
Yeah.
cool.
You don't have Taylor
Like,
Swift
like,
era's
oh,
money.
these two lights up.
Like,
But you know what? Then we do. Oh, it's really funny. We always have this thing. It's like one day
We'll have unicorns flying across the stage before we come on.
and when we're headlining, we will be
yeah.
standing on platforms. And when we start singing Nothing,
Digital rain.
digital rain will be. That's how we think.
So we'll just stand there with like digital rain. Digital rain. But it doesn't happen in real life, just in our meetings.
But like
someday.
resourcefully wise, we look at the space and we're like, okay, we know this venue, we know how long we're going to have, we know what sound check is going to be. Great. So let's get awesome lights that literally plug in. We walk them up, we go plonk, 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 plonk. It creates a really cool effect, but we're not having like 2 hours of pre-production that we won't have. We want to start getting into a lot of the venues now have projector screens and things that you can project visuals on,
Like behind the stage.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
our next step will be designing all of the visuals now, especially as we do more music videos to kind of create that cohesiveness. You just have to be creative with it's actually kind of fun sometimes to be given like really stupid boundaries, and then you have to kind of outthink it and say, all right,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's where creativity happens.
yeah,
Right.
Like constraints lead to creativity. That's, you know.
for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question, but our
No, it
brains.
did. Like I was just thinking because I know that each one is it has its own thing going on, but the through
Right.
line is you want to tell this story, but you know it's going to be experienced in multiple places, and you're just going to have to deal with that. You know, like somebody listens to it audibly, they're going to need the same. You want the same like emotion to happen as if they were seeing it live, or if they're and how do you convey that? It's just the different thing. What about back to venues? What is your ideal venue? I have my lighting here.
Theaters.
Yeah, theaters.
Yeah.
But
No, I asked because so my background's architecture, and so I think about terms of like David Byrne's TED Talk on the architecture of music, like that, like CBGBs didn't have arena rock bands playing there. The Ramones can't play in an arena. Like they had to play in a small space. Like Gregorian chants had to happen in giant cathedrals. Like there's a space for sound, and the most appropriate space is where that sound eventually gets formed. It's like wherever you were writing, that's where it sounds the best. So I was curious, like if you guys had like so theater spaces, like those are, because it is it's a show. Yeah.
there's drama, not bad drama, good drama. There's stories to tell and visual stories to tell, and theaters create that storybook experience, right? You're sitting there and you're looking into a moment.
Right.
So when are you guys writing a Broadway rock opera?
That would be
Like
awesome.
because I'm not trying to plot out your future. That sounds like an eventuality, that there's going to be a full show script, the whole thing. I know we're talking about the cartoon, but like in theater, you could do like a rock opera where it's all original music. It's this whole thing where you're telling your story about this place.
Rule it out.
No, knowing us would be like scene 1.
We do have a book draft about our life on the Punky Meadows tour and where it all began, and it's called Unicorns of Destruction.
Love it.
And it's just like, the journey along the way and to where we are now. But
and also it's like the story of women in a very male centric industry. Still,
it's just like all the eye rolling moments of like, oh, boys.
and all the
Really?
yeah, it's really interesting. We love it so much, but like, wow, it's definitely skewed a certain way for sure.
Although
Okay.
someone brought up a good point the other day. Nowadays, with TikTok and
Yeah.
all the ways you can get your music out, there are more women doing music
are.
because it just doesn't work the same way as it used to.
Yeah.
So that's actually something to be aware of.
Thanks, TikTok.
Well, I think in a lot of it, it's like, and this is like with a lot of industries, not just music, but you think about like basically any industry that is dominated by white men are the gatekeepers because they're the ones who have the money. So you're once you start to see more women producers, more black producers, more, you're going to start, they're going to elevate, other voices because the gatekeepers before were, they all looked a lot like me.
Mhm.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Gotcha.
funny. I was looking at the Country Music Award ad popped up on my screen at one point, and I counted because it's like, you know, those ads and it's like flashing all of the artists and performers that are going to be on for the night.
Right.
And I counted, there were 2/3 or maybe three quarters men and 1/4 women artists.
Wow.
In a ratio, and I think it's pretty accurate. And I'm not saying it to be like poor us. I'm saying it to like, yeah, we just have to slay harder. That's all.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Go on.
yeah. Just to hold our space, and just be present.
Well, even like when you think about like the era of like the 90s rock music, the women who stood out, they're like, you can count them, like you know who they are. And
Mhm.
there was, guy bands would just come and go, but like, I think about like I don't know, it should be coming up soon. Like I think I'm going to go see the Liz Phair show here in Philly. Like that's somebody who like but she was somebody who came up and then kind of like she was hanging around, but
Yeah.
there weren't many at that
There
time.
was Garbage, Gwen Stefani,
Yep,
Alanis
Alanis
Morissette,
Alanis
Morissette,
Morissette.
Courtney Love,
Courtney Love.
Veruca Salt,
Yep.
and Apple. There's some great,
Yeah, there were some.
the
great-
90s I actually feel like
was a good moment for women in rock.
also because of the singer-songwriter aspect that came into rock music and almost the folky aspect that started pulling in, like
Mhm.
there was a little bit more space for that and respect for that, and I think that helped as
But
well.
you're right. You can count them on your hands.
100%.
Well,
Yeah.
and all of them are standouts. Like there's
Yes.
not like it's not like they had to be
Right.
the cream of the crop. Like when
Yeah.
everyone you name there, like you could probably name more than 5 songs from each of them because
Yeah.
they were all that
Dependent.
Right.
that good,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So totally
And they
true.
are some of the artists of my childhood. Like when you said them, I was like, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So talk to me about the costumes, because I've heard you do quite eccentric costumes and you make them, and there's several of them
We
in
have
one show.
made some.
We have made some, or we
There's
embellish
one
them.
company called Burnt Soul who's in London.
Yes, from the UK.
And
Oh.
they just do these amazing handmade cat suits that are just like pieced together and metallic and sparkly. And we've ordered a few from them, and they're custom. You can just like determine each panel what you want it to be. So it's kind of like fashion plates. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like making your own look, but then someone else makes it for you.
The other thing is
Okay.
often.
I think I was telling Steph, like I think the last time I saw you was like backstage at like I forget what band you were with at the time. It was an 80s cover, and you had made like this rack of clothes, like for every song. Like it was like the bridal gown for like a virgin, and then the boxing outfit for Mickey. It was like I was like I go in there and she's got this like array. She's like, oh yeah, I do like a million outfit changes during this entire show.
Yeah, that was before I knew how much work that was to change that many times. I don't do that anymore. We have one outfit. Glorious outfit per show.
But for example, the front of our EP, so you see our backs, right? And you've got the star and the bolt on our catsuits. My dear friend who passed away in 2018, 19, she's an amazing designer. She actually used to work for Vogue Patterns. So her patterns were like one. So we were like, okay, we have these plain black catsuits, but we want to make them ours. And here's our concept. And she's like, great, I need this material, this material, this material, this material. And then we're like, we also want it to be an ode to Legend of Billie Jean, the movie. Again,
with
visual,
the shoulder stripes.
where she like goes and cuts up her scuba diving outfit and shaves her hair off. And then it's like, what's the song? What is the song?
Invincible.
Invincible.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay. And we picked all of the colors and she created everything over a plain catsuit. They're really,
Wow.
Yeah,
I can't believe you referenced the Legend of Billie Jean. Like, I have not thought about that movie in I don't know how long. Like, but what a classic movie! Like, that was like
classic.
Barbara literally, because I hadn't watched it because it wasn't really in the UK.
Right.
So we
Yeah,
were like,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know it. I was
no,
like,
me neither. It's okay, don't worry.
When I
Okay.
brought it up and referenced it, and Amy was looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Please, tonight, your homework is. Because it's so
Literally,
epic, like girl power.
I
Right?
got a homework assignment.
And then she watched it. She was like, I get it. I get it.
okay, I'm gonna watch it now just
It's
because
so
of that.
good. You're gonna
yeah.
love
It was like there was a stretch there for like 5 years where Helen Slater was in like a dozen movies. It was like one of those like.
Yep. And a young Christian Slater's in it, if that's a
Yeah, by the
song.
way, not related, which I thought, I think when I was a kid, I assumed that they were brother and sister.
Why wouldn't they be brother and sister?
Like,
Same last name and they look alike and they're in the same movie. Like,
yeah, like,
why wouldn't they be brother and sister?
also, wasn't that actress Supergirl?
yes,
I think so, yeah.
So I knew her.
A Supergirl.
We were like,
she was Supergirl. And then where I remember her most is like the Michael J. Fox Secret of My Success. Do you guys remember that one?
Right. That's a
She
good
was
one.
the female lead in that.
She had a string of hit movies all in a row.
Yeah.
She was the
Oh.
it girl.
she was cool.
Yeah.
We had Supergirl in the UK.
Yeah. I remember that being very young when that came out though.
Totally. Yeah, we like.
Yeah, I can kind of picture her in a Superwoman costume, but I can't picture her face for some reason. But I will
It was
look up that film.
Homework assignment.
assignment.
I'm on it. So you guys mentioned you're very deep in trying to make connections and do shows and stuff. What is the big dream? What do you want to accomplish?
I think we want that big theater show
Yeah.
that can go, we can pop it up anywhere and turn it into the Glitterverse.
Yeah.
Live performances are it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We like making videos, we like recording, but the energy of the audience is just it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And would you like to do that like worldwide, or do you want to do it just like locally, or
We'll go
you like
anywhere
wherever?
that we'll
We'll go
have.
wherever.
I mean, if we're like talking dreams, it would be having a touring opportunity that just we could do that all over the
Mhm.
place. Yeah. And
That'd be
also, I think from a music video standpoint, we have so many wild and crazy ideas, and just the ability
Being
to
able to actually do them.
Yeah.
actuate them, it's just so, it's that artist dream. You want to be able to show everyone what's in your own universes.
Mhm.
It's funny. I could totally see like we were talking about like traveling or coming to you, like a Vegas residency where you have the set permanently set up would be like ideal. Like it would be like, because you could like, and you don't have to pack it up and reset it up in every city. It's just like, yeah, this is a Vegas residency. We have this hall. We can do whatever we want to, and we're here
Right.
for
But
like
it
a
needs
year.
to be old Vegas though, because old Vegas is so cool and so vibey, and you feel like it's 1965 or 72,
Mhm.
and you're walking down the strip, and it's like the whole thing needs to be a vibe. So yes,
Yes.
please, residency
Yes,
in old
please.
Vegas.
I have never been to Vegas.
Me
I've
neither, but
never
if you
been
guys get
until
there,
the
I'm
con-
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, my whole thing was like, if I'm going to get on a plane for that long, I go east, and I go over to like Europe, and I'll go do that.
Yeah, it is a long flight.
Fair point.
Yeah, fair point.
Is it? See, whenever
Yeah,
I think of in flights from America, I'm like max 2 hours. Like
It's probably about a 5-hour flight from here.
Yeah, I was gonna say 5 or 6.
It's long.
Yeah.
It's 5, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget,
Wild.
America's like actually a continent. Like
Right.
Yeah.
in
I
England,
think
it's
we
like you
forget how
think of
big
going,
it is.
yeah, in England you think of going to a different country and you're like, oh, I'm just going to pop across the English Channel or under the
Right.
tunnel, and I'll be in France in like an hour-ish.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, France is an hour away and we're in a
Or
different
you
country.
can't get
How
out
do you
of
But-
say
the country.
5
But
hours?
even like even in America, like even like the sense of space is different. Like I had friends from California here, and they were wild. Like they don't live anywhere close to another state. Like, and I'm like, oh well, Jersey's right there. Like, yeah, you can
Right.
like,
We'll pop over to Jersey or go to New York or they're like, what?
yeah, like yeah,
I think that American states are like European countries essentially, like that in
Mhm.
terms of spacing and
Right.
yeah,
and culture,
and culture. True.
like yeah, like Texas is
different.
different than here. Like,
I know, totally. Yeah.
I've only been to 2 places in America, Florida and New Mexico. When I went to New Mexico, like I went to my friend, so I went when I was like 16, and I went to my friend's high school just because I wanted to experience an American high school to see if it was like it was in the films. And the people came in and they were like had cowboy outfits on, and I thought they were in fancy dress. And I was like, why are they in fancy dress? There's something going on today. And she was like, no, that's actually how they dress. I was like, oh my God.
Oh
But
my
we just don't
God.
have anything like it in England. So I was like mesmerized, like, oh my God, that's actually just how they are. I was like, wow.
I'm
It's-
obsessed with New
they don't have anything
Mexico.
like that over here either. Like it's
No,
very,
it's
you know,
true.
show off
I'm
the
obsessed
cowboy
with New
outfits.
Mexico. Yeah, New
Thank you.
Mexico. When I go there, I always in my head. I know this is so cliche, but I love it. In my head, I'm walking around and I hear like, ooh, and then I see tumbleweed, and I'm like, my life has just been made. I just saw tumbleweed. Where is the Lone Ranger on the
Mhm.
horizon on
Yeah.
his
Full
horse?
farm. Yeah.
It's
That's
amazing.
hilarious.
Beautiful.
See, I always like from this point forward, like from like I associate New Mexico with Breaking Bad, so I assume everybody's a meth dealer. Like that's just yeah.
No, no, that's awful. That's awful. I
Breaking
had
Bad's a pretty good series, though, to be fair.
it's genius
So good.
series.
Yeah.
Loved
Genius.
it.
It's beautiful because it also shows the haha, state of New Mexico in a really beautiful way. Like
Right.
you really get how starkly beautiful that space is. It's because I'm talking to an English person now. I keep saying county instead of state. That's
Oh,
why.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I'm like county of New Mexico.
I've rubbed off on you.
That's great. Bring it on.
Are,
I'm
do
surprised
you,
you haven't
are
lost
you
your accent,
from
actually.
where she's from?
I haven't lost my accent because I watch BBC when I feel that it's slipping.
Okay.
Will not lose it. I will not lose it.
No, straight away, I picked up your English accent straight away. I was like, oh, she hasn't lost it at all. Like,
Yeah,
she
what
sounds
part of
happy.
the UK you originally from?
I'm from the south. I'm grew up in the countryside, right in between London and Brighton. I was right in the middle.
Oh, you're right down south.
Forest. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
One of our old episodes, we had an actor from the UK, and we were talking about like the different accents, and like me as an American, like I can't pick up the uniqueness of dialects, like between like Steph's accent versus your accent. Like it sounds like a British accent to me. Like it just doesn't. And I know like if I heard them side by side, like I would hear some nuances, but like I can pick up like the difference between a Philly accent and a New York accent because I'm used to it. It's just like one of those things that's so
England
unique.
has the same thing. There are like you can drive 10 minutes also because we're such a tiny country, and suddenly the basic accent completely changes. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
amazing.
I thought
But
that
your
was
accent's
great.
quite neutral, though, I think.
Yeah,
It is.
theatre school.
Yeah.
Well, and also like you're watching BBC, which is probably very like here, like the newscasters have a very flat accent. There's no
Right,
regional
it's, like,
differences in
neutral.
newscaster accent. They all learn how to speak for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
My family,
true.
my mum's side is actually from Suffolk, and they were farmers, so they're full on countryside. So all of my grandma's siblings have a real Suffolk or accent like that.
Combine harvester.
Yeah, exactly. And my grandmother decided that she didn't want to sound like that, so
She wanted to feel
she
proper and
elevated herself via her accent and switched it up a little bit. And so then my mum sounded more like me, and then it went down that way. It's really funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. But it's so funny how you guys can't tell the difference. I can tell, like, I don't think I've got a very strong accent, but I know I've got little twangs because I get told I've got little twangs.
Yeah.
But yeah, but similarly with the American accents, I can't always tell the difference.
Yeah.
Like I can tell the difference if it's like a Southern accent to a New York accent, things like that. But like when John was saying about the Jersey, the difference between Jersey and New York, I can't really tell the difference.
It's subtle. Not as much to you guys.
I think a lot of people in Jersey came from New York
That's
or
true.
Philly, so that gets confused as a Jersey accent. But I don't know what a Jersey accent is on its own without the infiltration of the other people.
It sounds like when you leave the city centers, you still hear like the bases of them. So it's like
right,
like in Jersey, like you have New York and Philly, and so like
it's kind of like a blend.
Right. When I this morning I was at a networking meeting in Jersey, and a bunch of Jersey people, and this guy had the thickest South Philly accent I've ever heard, but he's not from South Philly, he's from South Jersey. But like that's just at some point that's where the branches came. And for me, like I don't have that like Philly accent, like not as hard as most people, and I don't know where that came from. Yeah.
Right.
Like I have no idea how I say words.
Do you find your accent change? Sorry, go on.
The Cure.
Oh my Lord, she has to tell this story.
Amy recently went to see The Cure at Madison Square Garden, and also Boy George, like in the same 2-week period. And she was telling me
best week of my life, FYI.
When Robert Smith was speaking, like no one can understand what he's saying because his English accent is like what I call it the blurry one.
Yeah, so
it's very like what?
Robert grew up and went to school probably about 15 minutes away from where I came. So he's from Crawley, which is like right in where I grew up.
So basically you were the only person in the whole audience that
yeah
knew what he was saying.
I was with Rob, and Rob, who's my fiance, our drummer, Rob kept like leaning over and being like, what is he saying? What did he just say? and so to him, this Robert sounded like my brother Richard. But to me, I'm like, oh, he's dedicating this song to his brother Richard because A, B, and C. And then we met up with a friend who also was there, and she had the same experience. She's like, I had no idea what he was saying. I couldn't understand it. Wow. But he
it's like when I go to Ireland and I visit I have relatives up in in Donegal County, and they're farm people. And there's a couple of them like that work in the city, so I can understand them. But the actual farm people, I have to be like half in the bag, and then I can start to understand them. And I'm like, oh, I can hear it now. Like I can hear it, but like for like a good couple hours, I'm like, I have no idea what that dude just said. Like, so I'd have to have like one of my cousins translate it for me because it's like that's not because they're country people.
I love the Irish accent. It's so nice.
It's so beautiful and Scottish,
isn't it?
Well, so lovely. I think you have to plug into the rhythm. It's almost like once you know the genre of music you're listening to, everything makes sense. So the minute you get the rhythm of the how it do like how that rolls, like then something like clicks, and you're like, oh, I get what you're saying. Like but if you don't. But if you're trying to listen to it via a different genre of music, then you're like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Do you find your accent changes when you sing?
Oh.
I think you hit a nerve.
Yeah.
Well, there are moments when, like in Love Bomb, for instance, we're working on the song, working on it, and we sing a lot of stuff in unison, which then Amy has to tweak to sound more like me, because if I try to just sound British, why would I do that? So Amy will have to try to match me to layer so that it doesn't sound like, the layers have to blend.
Yeah.
But then there's certain times, like in Love Bomb, when the music drops out and the line is, don't hit me with your love bomb, I was like, you have to do that in your British accent. That just makes it 10 times cooler.
Yeah.
So in that moment, she really went strong with the British accent because it was on purpose.
I find
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
you have to help me with this. I struggle, like I'm singing and I'm like, I don't know what to do right now because my vowel is wanting to come out in a certain way, but then it doesn't rhyme. Like
Oh,
the song has been written with a certain vowel sound in mind, but
yeah.
like you're saying ah, I'm saying ah, and then suddenly like ah doesn't rhyme with
Whatever
whatever
word we're rhyming it with.
So
Yeah, yeah.
the Beatles were lucky because their Liverpudlian accent has similar vowel sounds to America. Like I say glass, the Beatles, because they're from Liverpool, say glass.
I say glass.
You say glass, Americans
Yeah.
say glass. So
Right.
I know that they definitely tweak their accent to be a little American because they love that culture, but also they naturally have the same vowel sounds.
Mhm.
Mm.
So I don't want to wipe my accent out. I really like and to be able to honor that. But there are some times where I'm like, this is just gonna sound fucking
Do
stupid.
you write with that in mind?
What's that?
Do you write with that in mind? Like to start to think about like rhyming cadences with vowel sounds, and you start to say, okay, let's play with this, and let's lean into it a little bit.
Yeah, it's come
That
up.
has come up.
It came up in Love Bomb a bunch, actually. Like it definitely did. If I'm like, yeah, it's interesting. If I'm singing folk music, like non-KNG folk music, my accent comes out a lot more because because it's folky and often it's from my part of the world and it.
Well, I was going to say, even like the origins of like American folk music were like it was Irish, Scottish, English in the mountain region, so
Yeah.
their vowel sounds were already like
Yeah.
part of like the country twang is a holdover of the islands, the accents that came over when they came over. Like that's
but it's not as much as far as like, for example, a band like Bastille. If you listen to their music,
I love Bastille.
Me too. They're glorious.
them so much.
He sings with a full-on London Southern accent. Every
Yeah, he
R
does.
is R, every O is O. Like that's how he's pronouncing everything. But we're creative with it because we are a band that crosses an ocean.
yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah, we want it to be clear that Amy's British.
well.
We're not trying to like hide it ever.
So every time if there's any talking parts, I am fully British. Like if you listen to our version of Psycho Killer, British. Big balls, British. Like any speaking sounds, you sound like you, I sound like me.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And as I said, gives you a unique sound, right?
Yeah.
To be able to cross over. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So just before we wrap it up, guys, where can people find you if they want to look you up, if they want to listen to some music, if they want to follow you?
Yeah.
Spotify is always a good place. iTunes, Pandora, but Spotify playlist is where it's at. So add us to your playlists.
And then social media, Instagram and Facebook is both Kingston and Greystarr with the and spelled out.
Yes.
Because they don't like ampersand. So yeah, Kingston and Greystarr is where it's at.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, guys. It's been so interesting talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was fantastic.
For having us.